Greetings, fellow citizens of Disneyland. Brickey here. Today's adventure, our weekly rip around the Disneyland Resort to see everything new that has developed over the last week. The first thing new that I spotted was this green wall that you see on the other side of the bushes going back a week before. And whenever you see the black box in this video series, that means that we're time traveling. You can see just weeks before, that green wall was not there. So the sidewalk is on the other side of that green wall, which, does this have anything to do with the construction project out front? Are they fencing up the hotel resort to make it part of the safe zone? Be interesting to see where that goes. Last week, we discovered this wall of construction that went up and then walked around the back where, ta-da, we could see that it was just sidewalk work. Nothing too fascinating in December 2020 as far as new projects at the resort. But coming back this week, we can see that now that concrete is all done. And it looks so great. People have been coming from miles to see this new patch of concrete. God bless us all. Now, I am very happy to report that crowds have come back. I shoot this about the same time each and every Tuesday out at the resort. And if you remember on December 8th, when I went, that was the very first days of this new severe California restriction that means no food or drinking anywhere on premises. And it looked like this. It was a crazy, surreal day where there was, probably less than 200 guests at the resort. So to see it coming back to life and to see the Christmas spirit at the resort was really fun this week, because there were people out shopping, there were people out taking photos, and you could just tell people wanted to do something holiday related. I feel bad for Ballast Point. They put this little kiosk out front. They're trying to survive the holiday season on selling merchandise. This establishment should just be impossible to get into just days before Christmas. So they're hanging in there. They're fighting like a true entrepreneur does. So even though I was excited to see more people at the resort than I have seen in weeks since the new restrictions have gone into place, it does make me wonder if this is the uptick for being in Christmas week. What is it going to look like the first week of January? Just 2 weeks ago, you can see not a lot of people coming down the main thoroughfare of downtown Disney. So the uptick in crowds that I saw this week is obviously people that are out doing that last bit of shopping, but also just trying to go somewhere that feels like the holidays. It's a quest that I've been on personally, so I understand this. But to keep up this amount of people post-holiday season, it'll be really interesting. Will it go back to the way that it looked on December 8th when this all first started? Or will it look possibly even worse, because then there won't be that uptick of holiday sales? As you know, for the first time in decades, Disneyland is actually going to be closed on Christmas Day. So the day of this video releasing, Christmas Eve, that is your last chance to go out pre-holiday season. Thus the title of this episode, This Was My Last Christmas Trip. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, because Disney knew to not be open tomorrow, which to me says that they're anticipating a definite decline in guests that will have shown up to the resort, because without food, without beverage, without the need of holiday shopping, and with everybody kind of being like, hey, where's the economy at? Where are we going? And what is supposed to be a very, very dark winter? It's going to be an interesting days. And just simply showing the decline of attendance at the resort. And I agree with this. It's a weird time to go out in public. California's begging people to stay home. But we have seen Buena Vista Street and Disney's California Adventure go from something that you had to get into a Rise of the Resistance style queue to go into, and now you can just come and go as you please. And one of the interesting things you can see by this black box around the image, this is going back a couple of weeks, the Disneyland Backlot Premiere Shop was only accessible through the Esplanade. That's how they wanted you to go in and out, trying to make sort of a second World of Disney location. But pivoting to the new times, this is now the exit only. This used to be the way that you would go in and come out of the Premiere Shop. But now this is the exit only. So this is older footage, just kind of showing you this pivot that they've made. And even though right now we don't have new attractions and new parts of the park to track, what is going to be fascinating is so many of these shops are occupied with largely holiday 2020 merchandise. What's going to come next to eat up that footprint of retail space? And this is this week where you can see these folks try to go by the old protocol, and they say, no, you have to go inside of Disney's California Adventure through Hollywood to get into the shop. They're actually rejected and told they have to go back through the resort. And tried to film for you somebody exiting, and I could not find anybody exiting, because I would think that you would probably want to exit back into DCA. I mean, who wants to just get dipped out in the Esplanade unless this is your last rip for your trip and then you're just going to head home? So sorry to all my heavy metal fans, no exodus. Just want to make you aware of a video that I put up last week where I went through Buena Vista Street and I plotted out all the different balconies and actually ranked them on which of these balconies would be the best ones to live at. And this little crow's nest that sticks up above the Sepulveda building has really intrigued me on what it would be like to be on that balcony. Here's the thumbnail for the video. Hardly anybody watched it, so go check it out if you want some different kind of content. But it's going to be fascinating moving forward these next couple of weeks just to see how the merchandise transforms into new offerings that will hopefully bring people out to the resort. Because where we're at currently here in California, shopping is the only thing allowed at Disneyland. Here's some of that holiday merchandise that we've been talking about. This has been a new thing. This has been out here for a couple of weeks, just using this dead spot of the hub of DCA, because we don't need the information booth over there giving us attraction ride times. But I was looking at this, I'm like, why does this feel so different and so much more accessible? Did they put out new merchandise? Then I traveled back a week and I saw that they had it all up on the sidewalk, giving it more of an urban, like you're walking through, New York City and shopping on the sidewalk type of vibe. But what a lesson in retail that putting it actually out in the street there on the edge of the cobblestone, working its way up to the edge of the performance corridor, it is so much more accessible, so much more visible. And this really shows how they are trying everything they can to move this merchandise, which was all pre-ordered during better times. And here you go. It's end days, friends. It's the end of time. Disney with a 50% off sale. And friends, you still get your AP discount. I never thought I would see a sale happen inside of Disneyland. And a Gap type sale where it was 30% last week, 50% this week. What will it be next week? Who knows? Okay, balloons are back. I haven't found any footage of mine where I saw balloons back in the resort. And I have to say, this is one of those lessons that you learn from a year like we've all made our way through, where you take the small things so much more special. Like you just used to breeze past the balloons, like, oh, cool, Disney balloons. And just watching these handlers get their balloon bundles all straightened out, it's phenomenal. Now, of course, in 2020, there's no more like holding on to the balloons for that perfect pick. But I do want to give a shout out to my co-host over on my podcast, Disneyland For Designers, Jerrod Maruyama, who designed these beautiful balloons, and it's always good to see your friends' artwork inside of the park. Gone Hollywood has returned to us, but it is full of the holiday merchandise that's available elsewhere. Just Disney trying to liquidate this and move it as much as they can. As you notice, I don't particularly go into the shops. I'm not going to buy anything at this trip. I've already done my Disneyland holiday shopping, and I don't want to take the space from another guest. Hollywood Studios has been the real area that's been moving a lot this week. So now you can see this is going to be the entrance to the Premier Backlot Shop. Just 2 weeks ago, this area was actually roped off to us. So it was a big win when it opened up. And they've also really tried to play around with the crowd flow. Last week, you could only enter in on the left, and they were very, very strict about that. This middle area was a no-fly zone. Nobody was allowed to walk through there. And then you exited on your far right, and they were very strict about that as well. It has been fascinating to see them slowly try to adjust everything to the perfect crowd flow. So now this week, this area where you were only allowed to exit, and I mean, you couldn't even go backwards. If you took a couple steps forward, you were already on your way out the door, whether you wanted to be or not. This is now the entryway to get into the premiere shop, which is Studio 17. And I found this just to be fascinating that they would finally make this move on Christmas week. Last week, you could only go in there and buy the items in this courtyard. They had a couple of cash registers partitioned off, And if you bought anything here in this courtyard, you could go in and buy that, but you were not allowed to go into the rest of the backlot shop or Studio 17, which seemed interesting to me to treat this space like two different customers, two different product lines. I filmed this last week where I'm like, are they really believing that this many people are going to shop from these little carts here in this courtyard, which, you know, has the same holiday merchandise and not that many SKUs for people to pick between, you know? So I was like, this is a limited amount of merchandise. We're in a weird time. Do they think that many people is going to show up? Now I understand, yes, they will, because this is now everyone waiting to get into Studio 17, the backlot premiere shop. But it is interesting that they're still letting you exit out through the Esplanade. I would assume that that will be something that will be going away shortly because I wasn't able to capture anyone going out that way. As nightfall set upon, I did see that they had these snowflakes projected up on the Studio 17, trying to pretty up sort of an uglier spot of the park. I do feel the days are numbered for this land. And speaking of the days being numbered, probably next week early we'll find out the extension on the current California restrictions. I'll make sure to let you know exactly about all of that when it drops. I found this to be the most fascinating piece of merchandise that I could find. It's just black gloves and knit caps. No characters, no Disney logo, just straight up blank merchandise. Did they buy this and they were going to embroider stuff on it? Like I was fascinated by this. As you know, my favorite attraction at Disneyland is the bench. And to do this, it's just not fair. I can walk past a closed attraction, but don't make me walk past a closed bench. Friends, all this month, any video that I released during the month of December, if you comment on it and you're subscribed to the channel with notifications on, I am going to give out a spider bot to one lucky commenter and channel subscriber at the end of the month. I hope you enjoyed this walk around the resort, just tracking all the new things that are happening out there. And this week was a lot of looking at the business. This was accidental and beautiful. Go into the light, Disney fans. Just go into the light. Go into a better year that lies ahead for all of us. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like. Here is your weekly park sounds, and after this, I just felt compelled to give you a special end of the year message. After I filmed this week's park update video, I sat on a bench and listened to Christmas music for about 90 minutes. And I have to say my walk out of the resort was a pretty sad one. It's been the worst Christmas I can remember. It's so hard to find anything that feels normal or that reminds you of how life used to be. But I want to thank all of you for humoring me, watching my videos, and virtually going to the park with me. This quest really has put a little bit of normalcy into just a total disaster of a year. And when I get to be there with you, it feels like I have a friend there with me. So I sincerely thank all of you for subscribing to this channel, going on these quests with me, and leaving comments, because many of you are so funny. You always make me laugh and make me feel like I'm there with a friend. So thank you so much. I hope you and your family have a very, very safe holiday season, and I hope that I get to see you back in the park next year. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. let's hope for a better new year.